Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating paradigm shift. We're looking directly at some original source material that completely redefines how we think about spiritual growth. Honestly, if you've ever felt totally exhausted by the pressure to constantly improve or, advance your spiritual status, you're going to find today's journey incredibly freeing. We're going to break down some ancient text, look at a beautiful historical parallel, and ultimately discover that true transformation, it's vastly different from what modern culture usually tells us.
Okay, so let's dive right into this. Are you trying to level up your faith? I mean, it is so easy in our modern world to just adopt this video game mindset when it comes to our spirituality. We think to ourselves, all right, I'm at level 1, but if I just try a bit harder, read more, do more, I can totally unlock level 2 and eventually reach level 3 of the spiritual elite, right? We treat spiritual growth like it's some divinely established, numbered hierarchy. But the source material we're examining today shows us that this whole self-powered spiritual evolution is actually a complete distortion.
To really understand how growth actually happens, we have to look at the central anchor text from the Apostle Paul in 2 Corinthians. Now, Paul absolutely teaches progressive transformation. He fully believes in increasing conformity to Christ. But notice what he doesn't say here. He doesn't say go from level 1 to level 2. No, he says we are being transformed into the same image from glory to glory. He doesn't give us a chart or some ladder of spiritual achievement to climb. Instead, he paints this incredibly beautiful picture of a profound, ongoing transformation.
To really grasp the depth of this, we need to look at the original language for a second. The Greek phrase here is apodoxis astoxin. Literally, it translates to from glory into glory. And the prepositions here are deeply, deeply significant. Apo means originating from, and is means moving toward or into. So Paul is definitely describing a movement. But here's the kicker. The destination isn't just more glory, like some sort of mystical experience. The destination, as Paul points out, is Christ-likeness itself. It's a Spirit-enabled movement where we encounter the glory of the Lord, and through that pure encounter, the Spirit progressively transforms us.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating is how Paul grounds this whole theology in a massive historical event from the book of Exodus. He deliberately reaches back to Moses on Mount Sinai. Remember, when Moses encountered God, his face physically shone. But that glory, it was temporary, it was fading, and eventually Moses actually had to wear a veil. It was mediated through just one single representative. But look at the incredible contrast with Christ's new covenant. It's internal, it's enduring, it is living. And the most astonishing leap Paul makes here is that under the new covenant, ordinary believers like us have completely unveiled access to God's glory. We aren't just looking at a prophet who encountered God, we are being directly changed by the encounter ourselves.
So how does that change actually happen? Well, it comes down to this fascinating Greek verb, kaidop trizomai. It's related to the word for a mirror, meaning beholding as in a mirror or reflecting. Think about how a mirror actually works for a second. A mirror doesn't manufacture its own light, does it? It merely receives and reflects the light that's placed directly in front of it. So the crucial point here is that Paul isn't telling you to somehow generate God's glory from inside yourself through sheer willpower or effort. He's saying, encounter his glory, receive it, and then reflect it. Spiritual transformation is fundamentally relational. It's a passive reception that naturally leads to authentic reflection.
And this brings us right to an ancient, powerful biblical principle. What you continually behold, you increasingly resemble. Paul doesn't say we move from glory to glory by studying glory in a textbook. He says, beholding, we are being transformed. The whole Christian life begins by looking away from ourselves and looking toward Christ. The face you continually behold eventually shapes the face you present to the world. I mean, if you look at his patience, you become more patient. If you contemplate his mercy, you become more merciful. You don't just accumulate information. That knowledge becomes your actual formation.
So you might be wondering, if the Spirit is doing the transforming, if it's kind of a passive process on our end, what are we actually supposed to do? Well, our cooperation definitely matters, and our response is intensely practical. First off, we've got to remain unveiled. And that means total, radical honesty before God. No pretending, no religious performance, absolutely no hiding behind an image of who you think you should be. Your work isn't to somehow replace God's work. Your work is simply to yield to it. You actively allow what you behold to confront and reshape you, letting his character naturally overwrite your own.
And this isn't just about becoming a slightly nicer person. This builds into the grand, overarching biblical narrative. When Paul says we are being transformed into the same image, he's actually connecting all the way back to Genesis. Humanity was created in God's image, right? But the fall marred that image.
Then Christ, the perfect image of the invisible God, appears. So what we're talking about today, sanctification, is really the progressive restoration of that original image in believers, terminating in final glorification. From glory to glory isn't just a catchy phrase, it's the epic story of God restoring humanity's original design. To truly appreciate this, though, we really have to redefine the word glory itself. Modern culture often totally misinterprets this word. We hear glory and we immediately expect intense brightness, supernatural atmospheres, wild emotional intensity, or, spiritual goosebumps. But the biblical concept of glory actually concerns worth, honor, excellence, and manifested greatness. Therefore, as Christ's glory becomes visible in you, it doesn't mean your life suddenly becomes this endless series of dramatic spiritual fireworks. Far from it. True glory is the quiet, steady manifestation of actual Christ-like character.
This really brilliantly illustrates the contrast. Culturally, we so often expect those intense emotions, the miracles, the constant goosebumps. But true glory, it actually looks remarkably ordinary. It's being more patient and truthful. It's being humble and compassionate. It's being faithful when absolutely nobody is watching you. It's having the capacity to actually forgive your enemies. Because Christlikeness is so multidimensional, you might possess deep theological knowledge but still need enormous growth in the love department. True maturity is always measured by character, not spectacle.
Which leads us to a really profound and honestly, often challenging paradox. Sometimes moving from glory to glory doesn't feel glorious at all. In fact, the next degree of Christlikeness might not be produced on a mountaintop. It might be forged in a really deep valley. Sometimes the next glory literally looks like losing something. It looks like waiting. It looks like admitting you were wrong or enduring suffering without becoming bitter. Remember, Jesus' greatest revelation of God's character wasn't just in his miracles. It was in his sacrificial love under extreme pressure at Gethsemane and Calvary.
So, if we absolutely had to map out this journey, not as some official numbered hierarchy, but just as a synthesized progression of Paul's theology, it really starts internally. Step 1 is encounter. I simply look away from myself and I see Christ. Step 2 is revelation. I begin to increasingly understand who he truly is. Step 3 is surrender. I allow that revelation to actually confront my flaws and reshape my heart. And step 4 is transformation. Slowly, over time, my actual character begins to resemble his.
But it doesn't stop there. As we continue this progression, it naturally moves outward. Step 5 is reflection. Other people begin encountering something of Christ through me. Step 6 is maturity. This character actually holds up even when I'm under immense pressure. Step 7 is suffering with Christ, remaining faithful even when obedience is incredibly costly. And finally, step 8 is final glorification. And just notice the beauty of this final step. It doesn't terminate in, wow, look how spiritually advanced I became. No, it terminates in, Christ finished what he began. Ultimately, the deepest meaning here is that glory isn't just something we receive, it's something we increasingly reveal. The source material uses this incredibly beautiful metaphor of a living window. Think about that for a second. God isn't just changing you for your own private, personal, spiritual improvement. He's making his character visible through your life. As the Spirit transforms us, we become like a window. We don't create the sunlight, we just let it through. And the cleaner and clearer the window becomes, the more faithfully that light is seen by the world outside. This makes our transformation profoundly missional. The more Christ is formed in you, the less there needs to be of you.
This brings us to a really humbling conclusion. A mirror doesn't notice itself changing, does it? It simply reflects whatever stands before it. So we need to stop staring into the mirror, agonizing over our own reflection, trying to force ourselves to shine. The simplest application of this entire explainer is just this. Turn toward the light. Instead of constantly asking, how far have I advanced? Have I leveled up yet? We should leave here today asking one provocative question. Whose image am I reflecting today? Keep beholding Christ, and let the Spirit do what you cannot do by yourself. Because at the end of the day, that is the true meaning of moving from glory to glory.